So I'm almost at the end of working on my submission for the Webtoons Call to Action contest. So I just wanted to take a second while I could to reflect on it before judging or results or anything. And so, firstly, I'd like to talk about just the new challenges that this was. I haven't colored an entire chapter before. I've always worked in black and white because I have been originally inspired by manga in the first place. So coloring this was definitely a big realization of how much time it takes to color over doing black and white. And it turns out I'm really happy with how it looks. I don't plan on coloring No Name Star in the future still because black and white is kind of my passion in the end. But it's really cool to see No Name Star like this, and I'm proud of how it turned out. Even if it's mostly just normal cell shading, I think it's really fitting for how I had envisioned it, anyways. And so that was a big learning curve in all of this. Big respect to all the people who normally color their comics because it's a lot of work. And then when it comes to the story of this submission, I also think it went well. I tried to jump into a side story that I've had in the in my pocket for a long time for No Name Star, the Prince and the Princess, the Shield, Lightum, all of that. I've had the ideas for that for a long time. So when this contest came up, I thought, I didn't really have a place for this in the normal No Name Star story, but I like these characters, so I thought it gave a good opportunity to write them in. And so I did have a basic understanding of like what their story would be, and I figured for this contest, why not just jump right into the conclusion of it? I don't think it's complicated, and it doesn't include any of the other Team Polaris members. Just Pole and Roger again, doing the big final boss fight. So I think story wise, it shouldn't be too hard to grasp what's going on, as long as you can kind of jump into the fact that there's kind of magical creatures called Lightums, and beyond that, it's an anime fight. So I think story wise, it should work pretty well. This is before judging anything, so we'll see. And so I'm happy with that. And my idea was ultimately I want to write something that shows what No Name Star is as a whole, which means lightums, powers, uh, as a sense of being kind of a grand adventure. And ultimately, they're like at the top of a castle in this. So that was my mindset going into this. Was really try to display what No Name Star is. So ultimately, I can maybe see if I get a few new readers from this contest. I mean, much less maybe even win. Um, but so that was my plan going into this. And the one other thing I really want to do was, if you read No Name Star now, you know that some of the powers that you see in this submission have not come to fruition in the main story. I did decide to skip ahead a bit. The reason for that being that I thought Pole needed to develop his powers just a little bit more in order to have a compelling enough fight to bring to the table of this contest. And honestly, I was happy to do so because, uh, as you can see in some of the pictures in this video, he's using his diamond powers to make kind of a gauntlets on his hands. And this, if not already foreshadowed in the story, there's already been artwork of it like deep on my Instagram. So I didn't feel crazy for jumping ahead too much. It's really, in my mind, not a big deal that I revealed these powers. And I really do think that it just gives an extra edge to the story, and it makes Pole and Roger a little bit more of unique and compelling characters when reading this, because if I can get the reader to like these characters, hopefully they'll check out the rest of the story. And that would be one more thing overall about this submission that I'm kind of banking on that I don't know other submitters would have done is, since I already have a story that's 23 chapters long at this point, there is already world to show, and I think I'm doing such by showing the lightums, showing Starlight, and even making references to No Name Star, despite the fact that this is basically just a fight chapter, and that's all it's meant to be. So when Pole talks about No Name Star and he's wearing his vest, people can read that and say, oh, like, there's clearly more to this. I would like to see what it is. So hopefully that can be the case. And when it comes to the story of this fight chapter, as I said earlier with the princess and prince and the shield item, I really did not want to make anything too convoluted. I had an idea, or I had quite a few ideas for how this whole arc could go if the prince and princess were going to have an arc. But since this chapter is supposed to just be a fight, try to keep it very simple. Show that the prince has his intentions and the princess wants peace, and ultimately there was going to be a clash to see who wins on that end. And so I don't think that the story should be hard to understand or be really too deep in any way. The one theme that I was really going for here, besides just having a very entertaining fight, was just to have the theme of hope. And that's why the princess is sporting more warm colors than the prince, who has kind of the cold colors, and the shield item, who has even ice on his shield. Hope, I think, with the paper lantern as the item, the paper lanterns in a lot of senses can kind of represent wishes and dreams, and so she's supposed to kind of hope for peace, and in the end, they fight for it, and their hope can hopefully be shared with the rest of the kingdom. So that's all really I was trying to go for it, because ultimately this is supposed to be just a fight chapter, and I think that's what I was able to focus on the most, is the fight. So hopefully my action panels came through and were entertaining enough. I did ultimately have a lot of fun doing this, even though the coloring was much more work than I probably could have imagined. This took a little bit longer than I expected to, and I'm really excited, honestly, to get back to the normal story. While this spin-off chapter was a lot of fun, it made me realize that I really do want to keep progressing my story and ultimately get to the end, which is very far away, but it's going to be a really fun ride. And now that it's just about over, I'll get back to it, and you'll be seeing more chapters posted on Webtoons soon. So anyways, thank you for listening to this little reflection on the Webtoons Call to Action contest, and I'll make more videos sometime in the future. Thanks, bye.